1 minute until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
And everybody should know that's how love goes. It's good for the soul. Oh, I got a long way to go, but it won't stop the pain. No, that's the kind of thing that keeps me coming back again and again. Till I see your face, I won't be satisfied. No, no, I won't stop. I won't quit until I'm yours and you are mine. Don't you know I can't live my life for nobody else but me. Everybody else trying to tell me what to do. I live without you. And that's the way that love goes. That's the way it goes. You said it's good for the soul. Good for the soul. Everybody should know that's how love goes. It's good for the soul. And everybody should know that's how love goes. It's good for the soul.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. You're tuning in live to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your girl, your favorite therapist, Dr. Kimberly Thomas. Come on in here. If you're tuning in live on Facebook, welcome. If you would just go ahead and like or give us a heart and share this live, we greatly appreciate it. And if you're joining us on Blog Talk Radio and you want to call in, you can reach us at 323-870-4375. Press 1 to join. Again, that's 323-870-4375. If you want to email us at the show with any questions, concerns, or just some words of encouragement, you can email us at hst@ttlomedia.net. Again, that's hst@ttlomedia.net. And of course, you can follow us on all social media platforms at Healthy Soul Talk. Again, welcome. You're tuning in live to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your favorite therapist, Dr. Kimberly Thomas. I'm excited this evening, so, I'm not going to spend too much time babbling. Yeah. My producer, how y'all doing this evening? Really?
Great.
Hello?
I'm here.
You here?
I'm good. I'm sorry. Babbling, really? That's what you?
Yeah,
That's what we saying
sometimes
tonight. Okay. All right.
Babbling.
So you said I was acting brand new, but now you babbling. Okay.
Thank you. Anyway,
You're welcome.
let's get some announcements here.
What we got?
Talk about All Men Lifted, please.
Oh, okay.
Come on with it.
Oh, you mean that little?
Yes.
That little concert.
I'm excited.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's the All Men Lifted. All Men Lifted. June 19th. There is a concert happening at the Country Club Hills Theater at 4 p.m. It's a concert for all men. It's a Father's Day, Juneteenth celebration because Father's Day is that Sunday. Juneteenth comes on that Saturday, and it's It's a concert just to celebrate the men, right? Because we don't get celebrated. We don't nobody care about us. So we get left out. So we decided we were going to do something to lift up all men. So even if you're not a father, you're welcome to come. That's why it's called All Men Lifted. All Men Lifted. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event. Lisa McClendon is coming in, right? She's flying in. She'll be here. She'll be here part of the show. She'll be opening the show. Lanesia Tyson will be headlining the show. Y'all know Lanesia, all those great hits that you now hear on Sirius Radio all the time. She'll be here. DJ Debo from 106.3 will be on the ones and twos, spending the entire day. So we're going to get our step on. We're going to have a good time. If you can juke a little bit, we're going to see. I'm going to test out my footwork, see if it still works. Okay, maybe not. But we're going to
been practicing? Now, don't get out there if you haven't been practicing now.
I dance much better than I sing, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So
very good. Very
much
good.
better. Right.
Time
so
you have the cameras, the photographers are going to be out there.
it will be video.
Yes.
It will be
efforts.
It will be recorded, all that good stuff. And then DJ Cool Out is hosting. DJ Cool Out is hosting, so it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for vendors too. So if you have a business, I don't know if you had that loaded, do you? You probably didn't, but it's okay. If you have a business or you want to highlight your business, there's a couple of ways you can do that. If you want to be a vendor, you can grab a table. The vendor tables are going quickly, but there's still a few left. You can grab a table and come and sell all your shea butter, your beads, your bracelets, your are we selling chakras too? Y'all know. I don't know. They might be selling.
No, we're not selling that.
Okay, that's good to know because that ain't saved. But you can come on out and sell your stuff. Your homemade whatever. Hey, I found somebody that makes wine. I'm gonna tell them to bring their own. Hey, ain't nothing like a good sweet red or something.
Wine or
they wine.
We can't do that.
They can't sell the wine. They can't drink it there, but they can sell it.
No, you have to have a liquor license.
These are facts. Okay, never mind. You can't come. Okay, so anyway,
get arrested.
that's gonna be y'all. I'm gonna be in the back, but but you can come out with your vendor table, man. It's a great time. We have those spots lined up, and then if you want to be then food trucks. If you know anybody with a food truck, if you have a food truck, you want to come to a spot where you're guaranteed. If your food is good, now we want your food to be good, but we're looking for vegan trucks, barbecue trucks, taco trucks, Asian food trucks, soul food trucks, food trucks. We like food. So any type of food truck you have, check us out. Go to unlimitedfaithproductions.com, unlimitedfaithproductions.com. You can go there and see all of the different ways you can be a part. Now, if you want to be a sponsor, hey, guess what? Maybe you're a business and you want to sponsor, be a major sponsor. You can do that. Have your name up on the main banner, on the main marquee out there, along with the other businesses that are sponsoring. You can do that as well. Those sponsorships start at the high-end sponsorship is called the Vibranium package. Vibranium. Only a few people gonna get that. But it's the Vibranium package. It is Juneteenth, so Wakanda forever. But it's the Vibranium package. That'll get you not only your name up on the main marquee with the other businesses, but that also gets you all the free advertising for the entire month of June. You can come on and you can talk about your business on the air. And all those great things. So it gives you a lot of opportunities. But there's the Vibranium package is the top package, but then we close out, I think, at the bronze or something like that at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a bunch of different levels, but all that information is, again, on unlimitedfaithproductions.com. It's All Men Lifted, June 19th. Be there. VIP tickets are going fast, man. Some went today. A couple more went out today. And they are $50, and general admission is $30. I can tell you now, the general admission tickets, if you don't get them online, they will not be the same price at the door. I can tell you that right now. I'm just letting you know up front. So if you're going to come, that means get your tickets online. That's the way you can save yourself an extra $1 or $2. But thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You're tuning in live again to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your girl, your favorite therapist, Dr. Kimberly Thomas. Let's go, right? Let's go. Jump right into it. At the top of the show, we do what's called spiritual connect point, right? And these are just thoughts that I have been pondering, for a while or just kind of sitting with and to get a better understanding. So I thought I'd share it with you all. In this week, I posed the question, When does admiration become idolatry?
Mm.
And I thought about this because for a few years now, we been hearing the term, how we idolize people, right? And we've been holding particularly entertainers, right? Or those in sports, athletes, where we hold them accountable for how they act. And if they, do something against, good social norms, we just nail them, right? And then we go into, right, how many people, or particularly kids, their role models, and we really place this halo, right, around them to say, you must do this and do that. And so it becomes where the shift from that is worshiping, right? And I use that term because I've just seen such an increase in going beyond admiring someone, right? Because when I was going through college, even back in high school, they would ask you about, who inspires you, right? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And then they may say, well, who are some people, right, that influence you? But I'm really seeing now where we are, some of us really place people in our lives to say we live according to how they live, right? We take on their views, right? If they say something about life or there's a belief system that they have, I see people taking it on, right? To the point where it then, from a spiritual standpoint, takes the place of what's in the Bible, right? Or what God would want for us as individuals. And so I thought about this question because many people are struggling with looking at other people to govern their lives, looking at other people, right, trying to model their lives, and then they question whether or not God cares about them, right? Because if God cared about me, then my life would look like so-and-so, or I would appear, right, to have the assets and the wealth and the this, that, and the other that I see in other people. And it really gets to where, especially with social media, where people get so, we say enmeshed, right, with other people's lives that it consumes them, right? And I'm hearing people say, that's my idol, right? That's my idol. And I just wonder sometimes, like, how not only how does God feel hearing us say that that's my idol, and we act accordingly, right? But what does that do for the spiritual life of someone, right? When they're following a human more than their spiritual connection to God.
Okay.
Right? And the disappointment that tends to follow, or the true sense of, lack of faith or disbelief in themselves, right? Because they're idolizing something of which they're now looking at their life, right? If it's not measured up, or if it doesn't come close to that, then life isn't right. And I've definitely seen some, I don't want to say tragedies, but like misfortunes, right? To that. And so that's why I posed that question, like, when does admiration become idolatry, to the extent where you lose your connection, or your relationship is weakened, right, with God, because you're over here focused and distracted, right, and obsessed, right, with a person or an object, right, or even a principle, right, of life, right, from that somebody created, right? So that's where I was with that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, now you throw it over to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Because you hear it, right? It says, the Bible says, right, no idol gods, right? He's a jealous God, right? And but if we're true to how we've been as humans, we've been seriously idolizing folk, right? To the point where if you're not living right, you're can I say damn?
You just did.
Okay then. Right. Like you're like okay, you're the scum of the earth, right? You can't be redeemed, or people, you can't flaw, right? When we idolize people, they can't flaw, right? They can't be human like you, and you're so impacted emotionally by something they did in their life, right? So that's where it's kind of like this. Wow, how did we get past admiration, right? To you're idolizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the danger of that.
Yeah. So let's go to first. You know, we got to get
The word.
Let me do it this way. You know, turn with me if you will. No, turn to the Colossians, not Colossians. Colossians chapter 3. Colossians. Some people do say Colossians. I don't know where to get it from. Colossians chapter 3. Colossians chapter 3, and I believe it's in the 5th verse. Colossians chapter 3, the 5th verse. I'm going to read the King James version. And then I'm going to give the message because I don't want people to be mad at me because they don't know what I just said. All right. So the King James Version says, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience. All right. Now y'all saying, what did he just say? All right. So let's get the Message Bible because I know somebody's saying I have not a clue what he just said. All right. Message Bible says it like this. And that means killing off everything connected with the way of death. Sexual promiscuity, impurity, lust, doing whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like it, and grabbing whatever attracts your fancy. That's a life shaped by things and feelings instead of by God. It's because of this kind of thing that God is about to explode in anger. All right. So you talked about admiration versus idolatry was the question.
Yes.
It is nothing wrong with admiring a celebrity, right? Let's start there. It's nothing wrong with admiring an athlete. It's nothing wrong with looking up to even though I know Charles Barkley said a long time ago, I'm not your kid's role model. You should be your kid's role model. Okay, Chuck. But he said those things. Here is the difference. I ascribe to be, to have a business like them. I aspire to be successful like them, but I'm not putting them before God. It becomes idol worship when the thought of what that person has takes precedent over your relationship with God. Then it becomes idol worship. Then you are breaking I'm going to get in trouble with my Catholic people because I done forgot my 10 Commandments order. Ooh, boy, if one of them sisters was still alive, I'd probably get it right now. I believe,
all off into.
because I just had a flashback of getting beat every day in Catholic school. I think it's the second commandment, though, about the false idols. I think it is the second commandment.
Okay.
Somebody help me. But the second commandment talked about not worshiping false gods or idols and all those things. So when that happens, that's literally what God was saying. He didn't say you couldn't admire your parents, you couldn't admire a celebrity or any of those things. He was simply saying, don't put any of those things before me. So it's not you can have and you can celebrate, you can have all the Batman stuff you want in the world. But I know Batman didn't get on no cross for me. Huh? I heard what I said. He didn't get on the cross for me. Now I'll fight you over you messing with my stuff, but I ain't gonna go to hell over it. See, there's a difference. I'll fight you for it, but I ain't gonna go to hell for it. So at the end of the day, the admiration you have to be careful that it does not go into worship. Because there are those who, you can worship a sports team. Like some people are people who are sick in the mind. Like, Chicago Bear fans. Yeah, I said what I said. Chicago Bear fans, they get obsessed.
Are not necessarily the views of.
She got a disclaimer.
Thomas.
She got it over there. She got put the disclaimer up because I stay in trouble. But anyways, Chicago Bear fans, something is wrong with you to continue to. But some of them are so obsessed.
Their behavior.
Turns them, and they forget who they are. Right?
Yeah.
So unlike us Los Angeles Laker fans, we're used to winning. We don't have those issues of
really.
Somebody said, watch it. See, this is why people don't have access to stuff. Because, see, they said, watch it, but it came up under Ebenezer. I know who that is. But use your own name when you type stuff on the Facebook page. See what I'm saying? This is why that stuff happens. But no, there is a really thin line there where you can go from admiration. You go from admiration to idol worship, and we have to be careful because that's even in our relationships.
Indeed,
with people, with our people that we know.
Yeah,
we can be so caught up into the person that person then usurps our relationship with God. I'm more concerned about how you feel about me than God feels about me.
Right.
Then that's a whole nother.
Right.
Yeah, that's now you in real trouble.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway is, I don't ever want to trust a person more than trust God, right? So
Right.
in essence, like, sometimes, as they say, we put our faith in man,
Mm-hmm.
right? And really, that's how people feel the most intense levels of betrayal, right, and rejection, is because they really did, right, have this high expectation, not knowing that your true source, right, your main, your major, your the authorizer, right, of your source is God. But sometimes they get sidetracked, right? It's like knocked off to where this is your sole focus, and if this person doesn't come through, then your world is over.
The lines get blurred.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to put that out there because, we're just where, I believe due to social media and all this technology, we're losing, right, kind of that sense of connection as it relates to how do you stay spiritually grounded, right, without, look at Instagram, right? And I'm only saying this because we're helping people cope with addictions to social media in a sense of, if my life is not like this person, right, then my life is no good, right? I'm questioning my purpose. I'm questioning, why can't I look like, and it's all individual, right? But you can't see God, right? You can't ask God to physically come and say, sit with me, right, and talk to me about my life. And some people get obsessed with knowing, okay, what is God's plan for me? And it's like, well, that's what they go after. Only it's like, trust God that He'll reveal to you in time as you go along, right, what He wants for you, and not what you see, right? Because sometimes we want a visual, and that visual has become, it's instant in the palm of our hands.
It becomes a lack of. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Oh, I heard you get through. Oh. Anyway, it becomes a. It ends up becoming an obsession. And you mentioned Instagram. They just changed, effective, I think, yesterday. They just changed it so that if you don't want to see how many people liked your comment, you can turn the likes off. So that way you're not constantly wondering like how many, like I didn't get this and I didn't get that. You know what I'm saying? Because people do compare. How come when he make a post, he get, 70,000, he get 50,000 likes, and I make one, I barely get 100, or vice versa. Or when he's behind the camera, these many people are watching. And when I'm behind the camera, only these many people are watching. And people can get easily caught up in idolizing numbers. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like, what's the purpose? I tell people this all the time because I've heard people say this to me about the show that I do. They'll go, well, man, don't you look at the numbers? I stopped looking at the numbers a long time ago because if I become number focused, I'll forget about the purpose.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, for me as a preacher, it's like me and the amens. I come from a place where people will, they'll stare at you and want to know how much longer you're going to be up there. So I had to learn to look beyond them and like, you know what? If I stay focused on who not amening, I'm going to miss the ones that actually needed it. Right? So that's when you come to, and there are those, unfortunately, even if you go from secular world to the spiritual world, there are those people who live and breathe off of what's their response? If God is pleased, and I'm gonna say this, and I know you put a disclaimer, put it up one more time. If God is pleased, you put it up twice, then good. The hell with everybody else. I mean, for real, I can't. Okay, then. I'm at that point now. Okay.
If I didn't translate that, okay, you stay within, you stay safe.
I did say the hell with everybody else, but I'm just saying, it's because I can't. If social media had been out when I was in my 20s, I probably would be. Oh my God, it would be horrible. So I'm glad I was grown when I got into the social media thing, because I go all the way back to MySpace. I just told my whole age. She looked up like, "What's that?" Look at what? Like you wasn't on there.
I was on there.
Oh, okay. But why
you didn't have to go there.
What, MySpace? MySpace was popular.
You didn't have to go there.
You was on there with me, but go ahead. Anyway.
Get back. Bring it back. Okay, good stuff. So I hope that people think about
Yeah.
right, how they are living their life. Is it based on comparison? Is it based on, you know, you idolizing, right, another person's lifestyle, right? Even the career that they're in, you know, even to social media, right? Or even, you know, it's even in the quote unquote church world, right? A lot of stuff is happening. You have to be careful with. We don't take these cliches, right, and turn them into you're living your life based on a cliche, right, and not the true, right, the true approach to you seeking God for yourself, right. And so, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So make sure.
I listen to people talk about, and you know, like church folks in the church. There's not a pastor alive who wouldn't want a packed church. It's just not. That's because that's human. That's the human side of us. We of course we want every pew filled. That's just, you know, we would love to have a pews full of folks who love God, and the pews full of folks who want to know who God is. But that's not the reality. Is that's not going to be all of our walks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the minute you accept that reality, that that's not going to be all of your walks, then you'll be a better leader, better preacher, better father, husband, all those things. Because the minute you try to say, man, if I could get what TD Jakes got, but it's easy to say, and unfortunately with our children see this. They're easily looking at, I want to be like, you know, the girls in my classroom, they talk about Polo G. I didn't know a Polo G existed. I don't know who that, I thought, you know, I didn't know who that was. Somebody named, right, exactly. Somebody named Lil Durk and all these people, and that's all they talk about. These are rappers. I only know this because I got 5th and 6th graders. That's how I know this. Okay. But that's who they talk about all the time and how much money they have. But my thing is, you don't know the work that went into it. It's easy to want that, right? Or if you take it back to the spiritual world, if you have any of you guys seen those pictures of TD Jakes when he started with him and his wife? Have you seen any of them pictures?
Yes,
with him with the real big carefree curl, dripping, wet, looking like yes, looking like he was straight out of the clumps with Sherman with the whole thing. And he said he had 10 members in West Virginia, wherever he started. 10. What? It's the truth. He said it himself. Y'all laughing at me. I'm so serious. Him and his wife, they started with them 10 members, and they were content. And he said, I've been preaching like it was a 3,000-4,000 ever since, because it didn't matter. So that's the thing. Once you find your purpose, all that other stuff, you don't have to worry about that.
All right.
All right, I'm done.
Jerry Curl, huh? Jerry Curl.
I'm gonna find the picture so you can see it.
All right, y'all. All right. So, listen, we have an amazing discussion coming up. You know, we kicked it off 3 weeks ago talking about women's health issues and things that women go through in their bodies and emotional things that come about. And so this week we have a special guest. We're going to take a break so we can prep and get this discussion going. And so we will be right back. We doing the percolator? What?
Is that what you want?
You know.
I'm just saying, I've been jamming lately, but you want the percolator. I'm sorry. See, she can get this on her show because, you know, just that's what happens when you have the non, you know.
Still saved.
You saved, but you house saved.
She juke saved.
Right, you juke saved. There's a difference. You juke for the Lord. I understand.
Right.
I understand.
All right, y'all. We gonna take a break. Come back with our special guest, and we're gonna go from there and have this real deep conversation. And somebody will be on their way to healing this evening. I declare it.
Oh, you declaring and decreeing?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. She do go to.
She just did a D. She did declare.
Oh, she just. She didn't decree.
She didn't
so
decree.
it don't really count. Okay. All right, I'm just stalling because I can't.
All right, y'all. We'll
I can't
be back.
find the music. That's why I'm stalling, because the music is like stuck over there somewhere.
You gonna sing a hymn?
No, he don't.
Did you watch Sunday service? They don't ever want me to sing again. It was bad. I don't know what happened.
He sung all the wrong notes. Ain't that
All
what you
of them.
said?
All of
Everybody
them.
here shaking their head.
All All
wait
of
a
them.
minute.
All of them.
Sounded like alfalfa.
All of the wrong
What
notes.
were you doing?
I
to
felt-
you trying to tone it down a little bit?
I felt the Donnie
I was like,
McClurkin in my
Lord.
spirit, but Johnny McClurkin showed up instead, and I don't know what happened. It just it just didn't work out. Anyway, we be back, y'all. Let me play his music. At some point, it'll play. Oh.
It's time for the percolator. 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 Percolator. It's time for the percolator. Percolator. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. Percolator. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. For the percolator. It's time 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 for the percolator.
All right, thank you for coming on back with us. I hope you were getting your dance on, just swaying a little bit, just throwing your hands in the air.
Swaying. Did you really say swaying? did you really just say swaying? How do you? I guess you could sway to the percolator. That's that Southside percolator. That's that. You wave your hand to the percolator.
The spiritual people, they have to, do it with some.
With some grace. Oh no, you just. I'm done. I'm done. She's clapping on the 4 and the 8. Wow. There is a difference between the Southside percolator and the Westside percolator.
Yeah, I guess.
You're aware of this? Oh, okay, I just want to make sure, because I don't know what they be doing on Southside. But anyway, go ahead.
All right, y'all. Thank you. Good evening. To God be the glory, Pits. Thank you for joining us. You're tuning in live to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your girl, Dr. Kimberly Thomas. And we are back live with a special guest. And I will let Dr. King,
Really, I'm chewing over here.
because you know what you were supposed to do when we came back from break. Because you said you were doing the bio.
What the? See how y'all? Let me tell y'all something. See, this is why I stay in trouble on the air, because y'all know I'm gonna say whatever I'm gonna say live. I don't care who be listening. I don't even care. That is that. Look, I know this in the studio, but we still in the church. That's a lie from the pits of hell. I did not say nothing about this. Ain't no. I got 3-4 witnesses in here, and count Batman and them is 10. So I know ain't nobody here heard me say I was reading her bio. This is your show. I read it when it was on my show. That say Healthy Soul Talk, iHeartRadio. That's what it say.
Deal with you. We'll deal with you in a minute.
Yeah, we got company. We can talk later. As soon as they leave, we can talk. We can leave, keep the cameras on too. Keep camera on. I feel my inner Bernie Mac. I feel my inner Bernie Mac coming up.
First of all, Tanya, get your mic ready, okay? Because
I'm shutting down, right? I can leave now, right?
welcome back, y'all. Let's get to it. All right, so I have the one and only
Thank you.
Dr. Person.
Dr. Pamela Pearson Person is in the house. She's the first lady. Let me help you because you acting real special. She's the first lady of this here church, the historic Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church. She's married to a dude named Daryl. But she is the first lady of this church here. And she's also a doctor, nurse practitioner, all those wonderful things, specializing in baby stuff. That is. See how I did that? You should let me write your next bio. Baby stuff.
Welcome.
See, you ain't had the stuff out. You had all this information.
Welcome, Dr. Pam. Dr. PPP.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I like that. Can I get one?
What number is her mic?
2.
Okay, great. All right, there we go. I just wanted to make sure that people can hear her.
They can hear her.
Anyway, thank you. So I wanted to have this open discussion about women's health, women's issues, right, and the emotional impact, right, that our bodies go through when it comes to pregnancies. We talked about infertility a couple weeks ago, and thereafter was miscarriage, and so now this week we're talking about the decision, right, when you're faced with whether or not you should keep, right, the pregnancy. And so I wanted to just have this open discussion first about, what you do, right, as it relates to working with women, but also about our bodies from a hormonal standpoint and how some things, right, that we go through, not just on a monthly basis, but when our bodies change, specifically when it comes to reproduction and, the afterwards of that. Next week, we'll be talking about postpartum depression, but right now we're just kind of getting into, the emotional distress and the short and long-term impact that it has emotionally when it comes to just conceptual, fertility issues and, miscarriages. And then just, this week we're talking about abortion specifically. Right. So I'm going to let you jump on in and tell us more about you and what you do and just kind of guiding us through that discussion. And then I'll jump back in and just kind of, us dialogue about putting it together. Right. Typically I get kind of put out there what not to say. Right. Because we were doing what not to say to a couple. Right. That's experiencing the inability. Right. To conceive and then, with miscarriages, right? Things not to say. And then I have some stuff this week, right? Just so we could be more aware from a community standpoint, because I find that in our culture, and this is just since I've been in the profession, I hear so much of what was said to a woman when they lost a baby or, they couldn't get pregnant, and it stuck with them. It was just this lifelong, you think about that and you say, okay, let's explore why you're unhappy and feel so down and like you're not living your purpose in life. And it was actually things that were said to them or people's reaction to them just about reproduction, right? That whole concept and we don't talk about this much, right? We don't talk about, like, let's take a look at how what we've historically said, right, to family members, women, young girls, right? And we're talking about this today because I have had the privilege of sitting with young women who did get pregnant right in their teen years, and they were quote unquote made, right, to give up their pregnancy. And that thing stuck with them at the age that I saw them, which was well into womanhood.
They're still dealing with it.
Right. And even if they've had children, they still remember that interaction of the why, right? How did I get in that position? And it's all based on the words that they heard, and even whether that was coming from, their family or their partner at the time. It just never goes away for some people, right? And so that's why I wanted to bring this up, because there's so many women, right, who have not dealt with the hurt that came from having to make that decision, whether by force or choice. Sometimes there were women who made this decision because they did say it wasn't the right time, right? They were doing some things in their life, or they felt like, they didn't want to do it, and they had emotional, right, long-term impacts from that, although they were okay at the time. And so I know that there are women who are okay, right, circumstances where it has to be done, but I just want to zone in on the not okay. The ones we tend to think, oh, that happened when you're 16 and you're 46.
Did you get over it? You're over it. It should be over it. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to let you jump on in here with that.
Thank you so much. And this is an important topic. And of course, with this being Mental Health Mental Health Month, so it's a critical issue to deal with. I've been in women's health for at least over 30 years, probably since I started in nursing. And I've worked as a nurse midwife, women's health nurse practitioner for the last 27 years. And so I've been with and supportive of women for a very long time, and continue to be. That's where I find my joy. That's why I find my purpose. That's why I find my mission. And so this is what I do. When I was practicing, I practiced in the inner city, in Inglewood, in the South Shore area. And this is a community that really needs the care and support. They've heard messages regarding around pregnancy. They've been told things. They've been, specifically with respect to abortion, like, this is what you should do, or why would you continue with it, or something to the effect of, who's going to pay for it. And so these messages that they get just really has, like you say, has had a strong impact on them. And just as long as I've been practicing, I really support women, regardless of what they decide that they want to do. I think, and this is just, a disclaimer, this is my opinion, that women have a right to decide what they want to do with their bodies. And so I explore with them, hey, this is, you have a positive test. What do you want to do? What are the pros? What do you see the positives? What's going on in your mind that's, you're thinking negative about it? And I tell them, get people out of your ear and focus on the inner you and what you believe that you want to do. And I'll come behind you and support that regardless. And you're right, it is a very emotional issue for them. It's not taken lightly. Some people think, oh, they just made a decision and there are no feelings about it.
Yes.
But they do have feelings about it, whether they decide they're going to do it or whether they decide they're going to continue with it. So there are definitely issues that they, and emotions that they feel surrounding that.
I like that you brought up that the whole concept of, walking alongside of them, right, to make this decision. And for me, those terms, and I'll leave it out because those are political terms, right, that we created to pass laws. But what I like to zone in on, at the end of the day, there's this woman here, right, who is battling, right, this life decision, this, meaning her life, right, at this particular moment. And so I think people miss that, right? People miss that whole concept that before the decision, right, is even established or planned, right, like dated, the woman goes through, right, this process of emotional, right, struggle, right? Like you said, weighing the pros and the cons, that's not easy, right? Because we're talking about future, right? We're talking about the what ifs. We're talking about, well, it may not be the right time now, right? For whatever reason, right? We don't even have to get into the reason, but more of like, well, when I get there and I want to, I may not be able to, right? So it's all of this that goes on, and I think that we miss that, right? We miss the leading up to, right, emotional disturbance process that a woman goes through. So can you share a little bit about your experience as you walk alongside of those women who are like in the process of making those decisions?
So it starts with that woman who makes the appointment that says, I may be. I may be expecting. So they're already dealing with those issues. What if, my cycle is off or whatever, I may be. So those emotions start even when they call to make that appointment for a pregnancy test. And so they already come in. So, sometimes they experience when they come in for those visits is that there's an automatic, oh, you're here for the test, and, we're going to get you some vitamins, and we're going to, well, they're conflicted when they come in. They don't know. So I don't just automatically, oh, guess what? This is, wonderful news. I may come in with, before they even, when they take the test, before they even get the results. Like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? How can I support you? And so we're going to get these results. And so, now that you have results, once I give them the results, how are you feeling? You just want to talk about what you're feeling. Do you, what kind of support do you need? Sometimes I'm just listening to them. So that's where I start. Because that's we can't just assume when they walk in that we already know what the decision that they're going to make is.
And I think at that moment, what's hard sometimes for women to do is share their ambivalence, share, they're straddling the fence, if you will, with this decision with family and close friends or even their partner, because they feel like they're, number one, they'll be judged and or they'll have to take their recommendation, right? So it's like, well, if I am contemplating, right, it's almost like, well, because I'm contemplating, some a close family member or their partner will be like, well, you should go ahead and do it. So now you feel this, pressure. Now you begin to, think about, well, am I capable, right? All these things could be go into effect in this person's mind. And, that in itself, where a woman who can't go or does not have anybody, right, to talk this over with, and we'll kind of twine here, ways to support, right? Even in the beginning stages of a young woman trying to make this decision, they need a listening ear, right? They need someone to say, let's get all your feelings on the table. Let's get, what are your true concerns, right, about, making this decision. You know what I'm saying? And I think how we speak and how we word it matters much, because, sometimes, and I get it, it's like, well, I've heard some family members say, well, we don't do that. Right? We don't do that. And then there are other family members say, you know what, you'll need that right now. You have a whole life to live, and your life is going to be messed up. And so we begin to put these, it's almost like we create the narrative, right, for the woman. And she's just in the stage of thinking about, okay, what are my options, right? Because to me, that's an instinctual thing, right? To say, okay, what am I going to do? Am I ready? Like, these are beginning questions, right? Especially when it's unplanned, right? If it's unplanned. And so I just wanted to put that out there. Like, I want to say, be more mindful in our conversations when that question comes on the table. What am I going to do, right? There's not the green light to pressure, right? Or to impose, right? Or to, if I were you, because you're not them.
Exactly. That's one of when we're teaching our students, and we have our students, is tell them, give options. And I mean, give options evenly. Don't oh, I'm going to talk about this, but give options and be open whatever you hear, and answer any questions once you start with those options. Listen to what they're saying and support them. Answer any questions they have, but it's their decision. Ultimately, it's their decision.
Yeah. And I think about that, right? So now they've made the decision. it still isn't a point where all of a sudden they the woman may be content. Now again, right? We understand that some women, right, some couples have made that decision and they're okay with it, right? We're not saying that there are not, individuals who have not been okay, right? But we know that even there are women who made the decision have to sit with that for a while, right? Because we're talking about the actual process at this point, the leading up to, right? The sleepless nights, the crying, right? The depression coming in, the anxiety coming in, right? Okay, I got myself in this position. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't done that. So now they're reflecting on life and just this whole, domino effect. Right.
And I think I made the right decision, but I'm not really sure if this is the right decision for me.
Yes. Or sometimes, the concept, it's a good decision, right? But I still prefer not to be here. Right, because it's really that, wow, I know, and this is that person, this is what's best now, right? But it doesn't feel good, right? And so that in itself is like, okay, wait, you're saying, your brain is saying this is the best idea, but your heart is like, how could you?
And I wish I didn't have to make this decision. I wish I wasn't at this place where I had to make this decision, even though I made it, but still thinking about the what if this I hadn't gotten to this point.
And I often think about the teenage girls, right, who and I've heard this, I've had the privilege of working with teen girls, and some of them have had to make these decisions multiple times, right? And to hear them share about the memories, right? To hear them share about the position they were put in, right? If you don't do it, you're going to be put out the house. If you don't do it, I'm going to leave you. You're going to be, alone on this journey. All this stuff that, led up to, them doing this. And I'm not here to judge the action of any of that. What I'm here to talk about, because I don't know nobody out there, right, saying, this, that, and the other. But this conversation is about it is what it is, right? And there are many young girls who are put in this position by other folk, right, to make the decision to terminate because they don't want to deal with it. And they can care less about the emotional, mental, and medical, right, impact that it has on this young woman. You know what I'm saying? And we don't understand that, there should be other ways of us addressing, right, that particular circumstance of the how you got there, right? There are other ways we can address the how you got there as opposed to, well, when this happened, we already know what you're going to do.
And that once you do that, everything's fine and it's okay. And there are no feelings behind it.
Yes. Now I've heard them say, I wish I would have kept my baby, right? Or they were pressured by their partner, right? Only to find, I'm only throwing this out there because it kind of blew my mind when I started being more exposed to this particular dynamic. I had this abortion only to find that he was having another baby with somebody else.
Yes.
And they got to keep their baby.
Yes, I've seen that too.
So I learned just in this research here that the majority of the emotional impact comes from external factors, right? So now this young lady has to live with, I did this for you. You pressured me. You said XYZ. You did this only to find, right, that a month later or heck, a week later, right, Kiki over here, right, got this going on, and now I'm sitting over here like.
And what's wrong with me because you encouraged her to continue, but you encouraged
Or she said no.
me. Right, yeah. She didn't follow along with that program that you wanted,
Yeah, and so even, that's the young folk, but even, women, right? Or older women. It's just, we don't talk about it. And I wonder if we talked about this more often, right? Would that make the decision-making process smoother in a sense of them feeling like they're making a decision based on internal, right? Internal motivation versus external. What are people going to say, right? Even, it is what it is, y'all. There's some women, right, who did what they did, and the partner, the man, was in another relationship, right? And so now, again, the same circumstance, right? You put this pressure, or they're contemplating, what will people think of me, right? A woman who's in this position, and now you made the decision, right, that you were going to end it, again, only to be in this state of depression, this state of grief, this state of, emotional distress, right? For whatever the external reason, right? So he left. I did this for you, and you still left. So now here I am, like, well,
I did this, and I have to deal with the feelings about it alone.
That's not to mention you didn't support through the process. So you were alone even in doing the process, right? During the process, you were alone recovering from the process. Now, long term, no relationship. Right? And so it's like we need to understand that the emotional backlash, right? The mental backlash that comes from, right, following through on this decision is intense, right? It is magnified, in majority based on external, right? External factors. And so now the decision is made, right? That this woman has made a choice to end, right, the pregnancy. In the follow-up appointments, what have you found to be kind of the mindset, or kind of that immediate, right, presentation or demeanor of a woman?
It may vary. For some, it was a lot of emotions, a lot of stress, even contemplating what to do. And now that it's done, it's some relief in some cases.
Yes, I agree. Yes, we know that. Yes.
In other cases, it's that they feel guilty. What's going to happen? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Now it's done. How do I move forward? What's the impact on my relationship? Did the relationship go south anyway? So they come in with a range of feelings.
And I often think about, like, even with some of those emotions will linger just because they need an answer, right? They need an answer. And some of the things that they highlighted here was, regret, right? And for me, that regret comes from, when they start to think about how they could have made it, right? Or they could have, all these could haves, come into play. And it's like, one thing I've learned just being in this field is that when you don't have like mental clarity, or you're emotionally overwhelmed and emotionally exhausted, we know, and this is in any area of life, your thought process is not as clear, right? You it's almost, we call it creativity. You're not as free, right, to be creative in your thoughts and sit down and process. And this is for whatever reason, whether it's internal, external pressure. It's like all you know is you have to make a decision, right? And so now when your back is against the wall, you're pressed against time, right? All this stuff is going on. And now you do it. Now you do have mental clarity, right? Now the stress is relieved, right? Because you followed through on a decision, and now you're clear. Yeah. And how devastating is that, right? That we in counseling, we push for mental clarity. We take them through, right, the journey of healing so they can be freer, right, to explore the goodness of life. And this, I get that, but it's like, wow, right? you had to do something that cost you to get your mental clarity, only to now sit right in regret and anxiety, and now you're looking at your life and how do I move forward, and did I make the right decision even after I did? That's huge, because it's like now you're gonna think of all the reasons. You're gonna recreate the list, right? The pros and the cons, and so now you have to sit with that.
And I also see some young girls who now, after they've made this decision and they've carried through with it, they find that, oh, I have all the support here that I didn't even know that I had, that I could have tapped into when I was trying to make this difficult decision.
I like to tie in. Felicia, welcome. I see you here. I'm going to get to your comment in one moment here. When it's done and you disclose that you did do it, I've heard this, right, from members of families or a close family. I would have helped you out.
Yes.
So how was it that I didn't feel comfortable to even confide that I was struggling with making that decision, only to find that you're so free now with your giving of time and contribution, right?
When I needed you.
Right.
That.
So it's like, that's one thing not to say is
I
I would have helped you, right, raise this child. And it's like, if I didn't get that impression before I got pregnant, how was that supposed to kick in? When I did.
Can you just say, I'm here for you?
Right,
Gal. You
right.
may be feeling, having some certain feelings, and I'm here for you.
Yeah, because in essence, it's almost like you've added another layer of guilt, right?
Yeah.
To say, well, because you didn't reach out, because you didn't say, or you didn't say how much you would need help, right? Then it's you didn't explore all your options.
Right. Exactly. That's putting the guilt
Right.
back into the
yeah. Please don't do that. All right. Felicia says here, I had one in my early 20s. I've always felt weird when women would be emotional about having one, but I didn't have any feeling or regret about what I had done. I was also surrounded by women who wanted me to do it, so maybe I went off what they thought. I still don't think about it even today. Yeah, and Felicia, we just talked about that. Like, there are women, right, who it doesn't impact, and because we know that there are women who have increased mental health, right, issues or emotional issues that remain pregnant, right? So I agree with that. Like, we know that there are some women, when they do have children, which we're going to talk about next week, postpartum depression, or they are made to believe they have all this help, only when they have the baby they don't. And here we are. We can go many different ways with that whole aspect, but children are harmed, let's say that, right? When there is a woman who didn't or does not have the support, and they contemplated that, they made the decision, right, to keep it, and we know that there have been some detrimental outcomes from that. So yeah, Felicia, I totally understand that.
I think she's saying too, she made the decision, she went through with it, and she didn't have any regrets about it, even though she was surrounded by people who were encouraging it. She feels okay about it later.
And I think when I was researching this, like getting into the whole concept of how it lingers, or the onset of is it more internal, external, right? It becomes how your environment makes you feel, right? And I believe that because we know people who go through divorce, right? People who go through, disclosing things about their lifestyle, people who, have to share when they've been sexually assaulted or raped or molested as kids, and they're now sharing this. I think that it really does matter the people around you, right? How they support you, right? Or how they respond, right? And make you feel, because healing is healing. Like, you can't put a time frame on mentally healing, but the journey to healing can be impacted, right, by the people that you're surrounded with. And so some other emotional effects here that we've known to see. Some women have increased thoughts of suicide after abortion, lowered self-esteem, right, sexual dysfunction, and you know, for me, when I've spoken to women with that particular issue, as far as sexual dysfunction, they really felt like they didn't want to be put in that position again, or they didn't look at themselves the same, right? It's kind of, it's different layers to that whole, it's a mental concept, right? So it's not just the sex, right? It's the whole concept of, you know, what my body just went through, how I see myself, right? And ultimately what I don't want to, and should I even have the privilege to do it again?
And then
Right.
they see their body as
Yeah.
changed now, or
Yes.
or
yes.
even to the worst extent tarnished. Like I'm tarnished now. I mean, they could look at it that way on the negative, and so that may be some impact too as well.
Yes. Felicia says here, all I heard from my mom and grandma, it ain't cute to have 2 kids with no husband. I marched right in and got it over with. What's your thoughts on that? Really, Tanya, you coming on in?
I'm gonna stay over here.
Okay then.
Yeah. No, I'm good. No, I have no. This is where I'll give it this. I'll tell you what I tell young men when I've had to mentor young teenagers. I'll tell them this. I said, for boys, I said, you give up all rights to choose when you lay down. All rights to choose. You don't get to pick. You don't get to say, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. When you lay down there without protection, it's no longer your choice. That's what I tell them. It's all her choice at that point. It's all whatever she wants to do. You have no say. That's what I tell them. So I'm like, be prepared for that. You can say, I don't want to be a daddy. I don't want to be a daddy. You can say that all day long. You should have said that when you was trying to get in it. I'm gonna leave that where it's at. See, that's why y'all. I wasn't gonna say that.
With that, doctor, now you can't be putting the visual out there like that.
Sorry, my doctorate is not in medicine. Sorry.
But a point that he said that, and a point it goes with Felicia's made another comment. What was shocking to me was that my ex-husband told my daughter I had one, and he was greatly affected by my decision, and I had no idea. So that we're talking about the women, but the decision that the woman makes, whether it's to continue or not to continue, that could be another show, is how does that impact the males, because they may feel one way or the other.
Especially the ones who, and I don't know, you'd have to look up a statistic, the ones who said, I want you to keep this baby. Like, that's a whole nother argument.
It is.
Especially when you've made up your mind you don't want to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole nother argument. See? Yes. So that's why I tell bruh. Sorry.
That's the other side to that.
It is.
That's the other side.
It is.
Right, because, that's that whole political, whose rights kick in with that. But for us, it's so hard to how do you have that conversation, and what is the outcome, and how do you live in harmony, right? And I'm glad you all, got through it, Felicia, in terms of the devastation, right, of having to make that decision, right? And it's like, whose decision stands? Whose decision stands? And so going back to what you just said, Dr. King, about I've worked with young men who boasted about the emotional pressure and coercion that they put on a young girl to get that done. And some to the extent where they threaten their life, right? And just hearing, I can only imagine, if you're saying it to me like this, how it was delivered to this young girl. Right? And so, that's that being mindful, right, of when that young lady discloses to you this is a decision, right? She's been put in a position to have to make this decision. Is you honestly don't know what's coming in her other ear, and that's what needs to be dealt with. That other ear, what's coming in that other ear, not necessarily should I not at this point, but is how did you get here, right? Because how did you get here may needs to be dealt with first, so that again we can get some mental and emotional clarity on what do you want.
Right. And that's why when I'm talking to them, I say, tune out the other voices. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Yes, you could be getting messages in your ear for or against, but where are you on this?
Yeah. And again, that's that, the after effect of it, right? Now all that comes back. It's done. You follow through with it, and now you have to sit with now the entire chain of events, right? And they have on here flashbacks, right? Not just, that the process, the procedure, but the okay, when this was said to me, and now you're replaying the details,
the conversations.
Yes, of how you got to sitting in the waiting room, to sitting, I guess the post-op, whatever you call it, like, right? Just the whole you're reflecting on. And we don't know when the flashbacks or the the sitting with will end or subside. And that could be years, right? And I know it lasts years because, I've counseled young women who have those vivid memories, and it happened 10 plus years ago.
I've had women who they can remember that right before the procedure was done, there was that one question that came up is, are you sure this is what you want to do? And so they'll flash back to, I had that opportunity, brief opportunity, to walk away or say no. And so they are replaying that that point where I could have turned away.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Let's jump into here. Things not to say to a woman who's made that decision. Number one, you must feel guilty, right?
Don't say that.
Or another way to say it, do you feel guilty? Right? You may get slapped, or something could possibly happen.
Do you wish you would have not done that?
Yeah. And I think that's especially close family. I think close family tends to ask more, how would I say it, straightforward, blunt, inappropriate questions because they feel like, as they say, we're cool like that, or you could just say whatever's on your mind. Right. And so
dismissive, really.
And not all women feel guilty, and I mean that in the sense of you have to be medical reason. We know, right? We medically and statistically know, right, that there are some times where women, their lives, right, are there, and so the feeling of guilt is not necessarily that dominant emotion, right? And so even a woman in that position shouldn't be made to have a certain level of guilt, right? Because then that question comes, well, what did you do? Could you have done something? Did you seek a second and third and fourth opinion? Right, all this stuff comes, right? Right. You should have just gone through it and see what happens. I think some women get, when they get the test for chromosome genetic test, right? And they're faced with that decision if they're, moderate to severe, right? Defects, and that's a tough decision to make. Right. So when that woman makes that decision, why would you ask, do they feel guilty? First of all, it's none of your business, right? In the sense of how you're going to help them with the guilt, right? What do you plan on doing if they disclose this information to you?
And the question should be, I'm here for you. What can I do?
Yeah. Next one. Do you ever miss your baby? remember, so I'm thinking about like last week we talked about miscarriages, the different trimesters, right, that it can happen, and we can think about this, in terms of depending on that person and how you see, right, life, right, at conception, right, or along, 3, 4, 12 weeks later, right. Do you miss your baby? That's not a question. That's not appropriate.
Somebody trying to get hurt. That's what that sounds like to me. That's what it. Yeah. That's insane. Okay. Be tight.
That's mean.
Yeah. But again, thinking about the mindset of that person, right? Like, so if that person does not desire to think about that particular stage of their life or that point in their life, then they're not, quote unquote, keeping up with time. If that makes sense, like, okay, my baby would have been this old, or he or she would be this age, or, I wonder what they would look like. Those questions are not even in their mind, right? And so for me, that's kind of what came to my mind, was like, wow, that's so insensitive in the sense of, obviously when this particular procedure is done, you can't, right, dwell on those questions, because you had to make this decision, and that's not emotionally and mentally healthy, right? To ponder those questions, and you shouldn't be put in a position where somebody addresses you as such.
But that's what the pro-life people do. The people that are outside those clinics and hanging out and doing all that stuff and shaming people while they're going in, and they're saying all those things. You're going to miss your baby, and you're going to do this and do that, and they have no clue what brought that woman to make that decision. They have no clue how she got there. They just know that, that she's pregnant or whatever, and their whole thing is, and I've said this a million times, because I avoid these conversations because I understand the level of trauma mentally, but people who are pro-life, I have my issue with pro-life people is not that they're pro-life, because they're not. And I'm going to say this. Put the disclaimer up because I feel it's in my spirit. This is my issue with pro-life people. Pro-life people only care about you when you're pregnant. So they shouldn't be called pro-life people. They're pro-birth. They're not pro-life, because once that baby get here, they don't give a nothing. See, I was being good. They don't care.
Interesting.
They're pro-birth. They're not pro-life, because the very people who demand you have your baby are the same ones that say, don't give her no food stamps if she need it. Don't give her no discount on her baby care. Don't give her no don't help her at all. They're pro-birth. Them pro-life people crazy as hell. Now I'm through.
Okay, dear. Okay, dear. Thank you. I appreciate that, though. I did not look at it that way in terms of, because for me that's political, right? And for me, I have to keep myself safe, doing this type of work and not merging the two worlds together. But the way you just put that, right? If that's just the sole focus, right, then we still get to, well, how do you emotionally support that woman who says, okay, I'm going to, because I don't want to deal, as Felicia says, she remembers all those people protesting outside. It was overwhelming. And those young ladies who do say, okay, I'm not going to do this because, it must be that wrong, right, to do it. And now no one's there to help. And
you can't, all those people who are standing outside, those people who are marching and all this other kind of stuff, they are nowhere to be found. That when you leave that hospital with that baby, whatever feeling you have, they are nowhere to be found. Not those people. Now, there's help, but those people who yelled at you and belittled you and all that, them fools ain't nowhere to be found. Nowhere. Try not to say that.
Okay, let's keep here. Let's keep moving
ahead,
here. All right, next one here, things you shouldn't say. Do you wish you can go back in time and change your mind?
Things not to say. Ever say.
Oh, you are right over there. Okay. This particular question contradicts everything we do in therapy. right? Like, you can't go back in time. You can't dwell on, right? You can't do that. And for me, again, putting that person in a position to say, okay, they've gained mental clarity. We have to move forward, right? So we can't get stuck at the wish, right? Could have, I would have, right? Had I known. That causes further and prolonged grief, right? Because now you're trying to put me in a mindset of undoing. Because for me, when I look at that, I have to go and undo the other stuff. So if my mind went to, well, had I not been in that relationship or whatever factors that contributed, right, to me making this decision, I'm going to bring up all of that, not just would I change my mind at that particular moment, right, when it's being, as you said, that question that comes up. That's not where a person would go back to change time.
And you've given them the support and supported the decision that they made. So then to throw in their face, do you wish you could have changed that decision after the fact?
So, again, just inappropriate on so many different levels, right? And these are not, I said last week, like, if you don't want to emotionally support someone, right, don't even approach them. That really, that gets to me, right? If you have to force yourself to emotionally support someone and you're not feeling it and you're numb or you just nonchalant, you're indifferent about what they're telling you and you're listening to them and they're sharing how they feel, back up. Don't say anything because that's how that's how these questions come into play because you may not even necessarily agree with what they did, right? That's your cue to back off, right? Not impose for all practical purposes, intentionally trying to make them feel bad. Does that make sense? Like you're putting this person in a position like, okay, let me see what your mindset is. Because if you okay, right, then something is wrong with you. And I feel like it's another set of questions or comments coming after if I say no.
Right. What does that mean to you?
And it's like, it doesn't even matter if I say yes, you're going to go into, well, what happened? And, all this kind of stuff. You're going to have me relive, right, what I went through. But if it's a no, you're going to, all this other kind of stuff can bring about. So for me, if you're not there, right, or you just being nosy, right, to see, how was it, back off.
Don't say anything.
Go Google. Right, Google it. If you must know, Google it, right? But don't go ask someone who's had to make that decision, follow through on that decision, and now you want a live, right, person to talk to about how it felt. Right, how it felt. Okay, here's the next one. What's your
These are questions friends, family, anybody could. Okay.
Next one here. Things not to say or ask. Was your boyfriend, husband mad at you?
Not your business. Not your business.
Oh my goodness. And again, that door, right, you walk through is like, okay, so if I tell you we sat down and worked through this decision together, are you going to down him as a man? Are you going to question, the how or what was it? Or if I say, well, yeah, they were mad, well, did it matter? Again, you have these questions where the position you put this woman in is either way it go, you're going to add a layer of, right, guilt, add a layer of regret. I'll try to add a layer of, let me think about this decision I just made in my life.
You're putting them on the defensive that they have to respond to what you're asking in a way that suits you.
Yes. And, you have to be careful that I think we need to be more compassionate about fertility, period. And I know so much with social media and technology, a lot of people are sharing their story. Go inbox them folk, right, who are sharing their story for the world to see. Does that make sense? Like, don't just randomly ask or call somebody up because you see there is a woman who's sharing or a couple who's sharing their story. That still is not the green light for you to,
Right.
because every person is not there.
Right. And maybe that's healing for that person, but they're not looking for a response or a question that comes behind that.
And you don't know what their support system is like. So again, unless you are part of that person's support system, please don't contribute to the emotional distress. All right, here we go. Keep going. Things not to ask. What was the gestational age of the pregnancy?
Not your business. Not your business. This is nosy. This is nosy.
And I feel like for me, some of these statements I think are said to maybe certain women or girls in a certain age range. Does that make sense? Like, because I think all of us in here would be like, first of all, right, we'll just get, it's none of your business. All, but for that young girl who's trying to process everything and you're planting these questions, I think some women are targets, right, for these. And what's unknown as your obligation as a member of society is to protect the emotional stability, right, of our young girls, not add to, right, their emotional distress or instability, right? They're already going through this roller coaster. So why are we asking these type of questions?
And that the person might be so vulnerable that they may feel like they need to respond and not know that they have an option to.
Because that kind of opens that door then to, okay, well, if I tell you how far along I was, then what's your next comment, right? And I thought about this, where if I tell you, I was within the first 4 weeks, oh, okay. That's not going to make me feel any better about my decision had I told you I was, 12 weeks.
Why do you need this information?
Right. So it's like, again, why do you need to know that information? How does that question help you support me in my emotional or where I am, right, mentally right now? Okay.
It doesn't. That question doesn't.
Yeah. So that is none of your business, right? The next one here, next one here statement. I've heard abortions are like big periods.
No.
Now, go ahead, Dr. King.
No.
Looking at this, right, again, and you may say, like, do people really say this? Yes.
I'm sure they do.
Yes. Right?
Or that when you said that, I can hear the follow-up question, did it hurt? That's another, no.
But just think about that comparison. And women have cycles every month. So you could possibly be planting, right, a depression seed for this woman every month because, quote unquote, you heard, right, it's like a big period.
So every month that she has a cycle, or even if her cycle is heavier, that's in the back of her mind.
Yeah. Because the thing is, so we know, right, that sometimes when some of the long-term, right, impacts of an abortion is the sensation of, or, just things, right? We know women's bodies are very complex. So even after giving birth, right, let's still say you feel, some of the things you felt during pregnancy. It's really no different here in the sense of our bodies. So the woman already has enough to deal with, right, as far as processing and being, safe and observing when her mood changes, because it is that time of the month, right? Because it may already be a reminder, but for you to say you've heard, right, this is like a big period. Again, adding that layer of emotional disturbance, right? And that's not a random conversation, right? What woman is going to sit down, as they say here, over coffee and talk about the process, right, of an abortion and compare it to, right, a natural woman body? We go through every month. Yeah. All right. Next one here. But like, why not adoption? Right? I'm gonna stop looking to the left because
I'm glad she here. Boy, this might be my last day.
I personally have not. This is not my population, right, that I primarily serve. So I only get the privilege to walk alongside young ladies' journey when they come in, right? And so for me, I know that there are clinicians who do walk alongside young ladies afterwards, right, or even during. And so for this has got to be the most I say detrimental, right, statement, because that would imply they need to move forward, or they could have moved forward with the entire process, right, with no worries, no concerns, right? Everything is all good, when simply we just been talking about there is an emotional disturbance from start to finish.
And
You know what I'm saying? So-
Having that question come up does not lessen the emotions that have come with going through with the procedure.
And adoption is a whole other,
Yes,
right,
right.
level,
Emotions.
right? It's like a flower, right? It's budding. Like, okay, here's another stem, here's another branch, right? To even and we're not talking as far as adoption, but I can only imagine, like, okay, there are women who did make the decision, right, for the adoption. They still had to go through, and they still
yes.
have to live with. We know that,
Right.
right? That don't. Why are you making it sound like, oh, all you had to do was, and you'll be
you
all
would've been
good.
okay. Right.
No issues, no worries, right? And then just that whole concept, like we just talked about earlier. Does a woman truly have total control over what she does with her body, right? And that's kind of where I put, this is truly, when we talk about external, there are some women now who are really into the laws of the land because they feel like this can impact them, or it has impacted them, right? Those women who were, sexually assaulted, or, who were in an abusive relationship, and they've had to make, and I'm talking severe abuse, right? And here we are saying, right, based on this law, you don't even get an opportunity to even think about considering, right, this as an option. Right. And so just that whole concept there is, I feel like there has to be systems in place, right? If these are the concerns of women, right, we listen to them individually. We focus on, okay, how did you even get put in this position to have to think about this decision? We don't deal with that too much. We kind of, and I'm saying we on the outside, right, deal with, okay, well, what do you need, right, to help you get to that decision, versus, okay, let's look at your circumstances, right, this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, but like, why not adoption, right? That's a deep question in itself, right? Because now that woman who said, and again, you don't even know the reason why,
Right.
From doing the genetic testing to this, that, and the other, it's like you just don't understand, right, what that woman going through for those 9 months to even say, okay, now here you go.
Exactly.
Right, here
They're
you go.
conflicted about the decision for whatever reason, and now for 9 more months, I'm gonna have those emotions, and then it's not that easy after the birth, and then, like you say, to just go here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, last one here. Now I had to think about this one because my mind was like, what? Do that? Okay. Do not ask, was it weird when you saw your baby on the monitor?
Insensitive.
Right? And I was like, oh, you went there. Right? You went there. Right? To say, okay, again, going back to the flashback, going back to this woman knows every step, right, of this process and procedure. And you went there. Right? Was it weird when you saw your baby on the monitor?
These are actual questions.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And for me, and of course they could be worded differently, according to the environment, where you are. But I'm pretty sure there are more statements out there, right, where us as a community, right, we need to understand that this decision that a woman has to make, number one, is not easy, right? But number two, if that decision is made and they follow through with it, not all the time are they okay. Right? Not all the time will they ever be okay, because that thing will be forever with them.
And
does that make sense? That's an event in life that you can suppress it, you could push it to the back of your conscience, as we call it, and to the sub. We can do all of that, but anything can happen in life for that to resurface, especially if you have other children, or we've been talking about infertility and miscarriage. Anything can happen in life to bring that to the forefront. Right. So yes, there are women who are okay. There are women who were put in a position that they had to get that done. And of course, right, they had to do what was best for them from health wise and, whatever was going on. But there are still some women who are not. And not all the time are those women, quote unquote, are okay. Right. It's just they understand that it was the best decision. It was a good decision at that point in time. But don't approach them like all of a sudden,
And it could easily come back. It might be okay right now, but 5-10 years down the line, or with another pregnancy, some of those emotions and feelings can come up.
Absolutely.
And just how we support and respond to women after that, hence all of those questions, how a response can make the situation and the feelings worse.
All right, I want to close like this, right? What would you say to women, right, who are in the position or been put in that position to have to make this decision? And what would you say to family members, right, who are made aware of a woman, or even a young man? We could check, because we didn't talk about the men. They're gonna come up, in a few weeks here. But what would you say to the women, right, who are in that process, right, of having to make that decision, and to the families, right, who are made aware of that their loved one has to make a decision?
For the women, I acknowledge and understand that this is not necessarily an easy decision for you to make. I know there are a lot of emotions that could be at play. And so I want to be there to support you. I'm to listen. If they're conflicted, I may bring them back. It's not something that you have to decide tomorrow, depending on, at what point that they come in. And so really just be a listening ear. And I tell them to find someone who's supportive of you, regardless, unconditionally, that's just going to listen while you weigh out what you want to do. It may be somebody who you just want their shoulder to cry on, or it might be, they're supporting, they're going to go with you if you made a decision to go forward. And so find that person. I really try and say, because sometimes they come in and this, he wants me and And I try to tell them, get that out of your ear and really find somebody who's going to be in your corner.
Okay.
And as far as family, because I do, I have, young teenagers who come in, and I try to get them separated from the family at some point. Like, can you step out? Because this person is able to make a decision for themselves, and to say, are you going to be supportive? Are you that person that she can lean on? Can you put yourself in that position? Because this is her and her body. Yes, coulda, woulda, shoulda, I would do this. Just be there. Just be there.
And what should we understand about the process, right? Not necessarily, what it is, but as it relates to, terminating pregnancies, right? What should we really understand about this? Meaning, why we shouldn't take it so light, or why we shouldn't, right, think that this is a procedure that's, okay, is in and out, right? And you don't feel the effect. So I think many people don't understand the physical, right, as well as the emotional and all that entire combination, right? So what would you tell people, like, about what should we not minimize, right, about the terminating pregnancies?
It's not just simply a done and now and done procedure. There are emotions, there are feelings that start before, but can carry on for years. So, even down the line, not to be, insensitive, because it can still be affecting them for a long time. One of the things when they come in, and you can kind of feel that, like when you're asking pregnancy history, how many pregnancies have you had, how many terminations, and you see that, it could be, 5 years ago, but you see that sort of hesitancy of, do I say it? Do I mention it? Do I not? So you know that feeling is they're still having some feeling or emotion about it. And so it's not just simply a procedure, okay, it's done, get back to your life, that it really can impact women for years to come.
And I'd say it doesn't matter what the process is, right? Because there are medications, right, that can be taken versus, the operation, I should say, right? And for me, I've seen people minimize it that way, right? To say, okay, well, if all you had to do was take a couple of pills, then you're okay, right? Your body wasn't impacted that much, and therein lies you're emotionally okay because, quote unquote, you wasn't that far along, right, that you needed to go in to get a procedure versus you just got a prescription, right? Don't underestimate, because I've sat with young girls who did that, and I was like, okay, right, because they're at home alone, right, for a few days, right, going through this process, and we're like, that ain't nothing,
Right?
Really?
Right.
Okay, all right, so that's what I say. It's really, if for me, if you're gonna help someone through this, gain knowledge on what it is. Right? Gain knowledge on what it is so that you better understand what happened, right? And then you place yourself in that person's shoes to say, okay, if I know that for the last 5 days or whatever, you've gone through this because your body had to go through this particular process and you were at home monitoring yourself, right? Then I should have some idea how you felt emotionally. Does that make sense? And so we, of course, know the procedure in office. That's a whole different, ball game there. But just that understanding, either way, this person goes home to be alone with themselves and their body, and they have to allow their bodies to go through the healing process physically. That in itself causes emotional disturbance.
And not everybody is okay afterwards to understand that.
Yes. So for me, if you're not asking, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Your compassion is there, right? Leave them alone, right? Give them another resource, right? hey, did you do your follow up to the counselor, or if you're gonna check in on their well being, not ask these questions, right? That contributes to quote unquote their mindset, right? What they must be thinking. No, if you care about them, right? That they are okay, right? That they don't miss, right? Their follow, because at the end of the day, once the decision is made and it is done, there's still care that needs to be, right?
Yes.
So do that as opposed to trying to pick their brain over the how was it.
And one of the other, I think about the disparity, of course, the disparities of for women in our community with access to follow up, access to counseling, assistance afterwards. Sometimes they're sent for financial reasons to places, and then there's, they're sort of pushed into one or other type of procedure or one or another type of facility because of finances and just our access. That's another whole conversation of.
That's where steam goes through my ears.
Yeah.
That whole concept of health care disparities, and there's a demographic area that has the complete collaborative care, because there is a collaborative care process, right? And yes, all too familiar with,
Do we have access to it?
some things are missing, right, in this process, or we're overwhelmed with agencies, right? The magnitude of it because of funding or the lack of, clinicians or support, right? Staff that should be there. So you're spot on with that, and that's why for me it's like, if we know this as a community, right, we need to make sure we're more supportive of, right, until we tap into the resources, until we have our systems in place where we are adequate, right, even on our end, right. We should be producing clinicians that can work in underserved and where there's lack of funding. Right, and that's a whole nother script. But yeah, it's just really there. You're absolutely right. I know that not every, area has the access to it. Now I did this. How do I get the counseling that I need? How do I even get, the support group services that I need? And so it's been a journey. Let me tell you that, finding people and organizations to partner with, to quote unquote give services, right, that don't desire funding.
If we notice that somebody's in trouble, where do you send them? Where do you steer them?
So yeah, even if it's just to train our communities, right? Help our families, right? It's known that we should be helping families cope with and giving them education, right, on how to help their loved ones through these circumstances, these events of life that have significant. And this could be considered trauma. Right. And so yeah, I just believe that, be a part of the solution, right? Be a part of the support team for this person, be a part of their care team. If you're not going to care for a person, right, that has gone through this particular decision making process, then the best thing you can do is just to stay away from them. No need to add to their unwanted memories, right? No need to add to their, their guilt, right? No need to add to that. It's enough there already. If you can't bring anything to the table to support them,
Then stay
away. Pray for them, right? Pray for their healing. There's so many other things you can do, right, than to invade their emotional space like that, right? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. You gonna come back?
Of course.
Okay then. What you doing next week?
Really? I knew you was sensitive.
Out of town.
Okay then.
But
All
that
right.
is my topic now, but I am out of town.
When you come back?
2 weeks.
All right, I'm gonna think of something else. I like this. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that people are thinking about things. I believe in getting knowledge to share with other people, right? And that people share this information. Even share this live, right? Share it with someone that may be challenged with this decision or recovering, right? just giving them that there is help, right? There is a way to be supported. I believe people should know that they don't have to, right, be exposed to this. You can't advocate for yourself no matter what decision you made. You're not ostracized, right, and that you don't have to be judged and openly, confronted and disrespected. I also like to teach people that, right, that because you made this decision does not entitle people, right, to treat you less than, right, or that you made this decision and now you're, damned, right? So I also like to put that.
And you don't have to agree with their decision.
Correct. Yes. All right, you all. Thank you so much. Felicia says, great show topic, fabulous guest co-host. Indeed. All right. So we'll be back next week. All right, you all enjoy the rest of your week.
Of course.
Okay, then.
Of course.
Tune back into tomorrow. Praise Break Friday. Right? You went in last week.
Yeah, it got a little extra. Sometimes it's,
Okay.
It get
Tune
that
in
way
tomorrow, you all. And I'll see y'all next week. All right? We out.
Bye-bye.
Till I see